Bitcoin has broken out of our symmetrical triangle pattern and hit the target of 66.7K perfectly. But now we're seeing a small reversal. Is this something to be concerned about, or will Bitcoin continue trading towards higher levels? That's exactly what we will be exploring on today's video. The most important thing is, I think the stock market is looking incredibly bullish. This is me performing some TA on the first take of this video. Apparently the mic wasn't working, but hey, it is what it is. So on the S&P, I see a clear Elliott wave formation that could take us a lot higher. And given the correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market, I think in the short term that would be incredible for us. So stay tuned until the end. We have a lot to cover. Make sure to smash up the like button, subscribe if you're not a crypto kid already. And look at that, that's pretty cool. And turn on the notification bell. But let's get straight into it. Jump into the Bitcoin price analysis. Now, if you were a part of the Crypto Kids community over on the Telegram, I mentioned that Bitcoin hit 66.7K, but likely will struggle to continue breaking towards the upside, given the significance of that resistance range. If we go back towards, I think, March of this year, Bitcoin has traded so many times, found support, found resistance, so breaking above it would be significant for Bitcoin. And if we do so, I think all-time highs will be relatively easy. But it will be tough to do in the short term, as we had a bearish crossover on the stochastic. And like we discussed yesterday, the Dixie was finding support on the lower band of the Komu cloud in Ichimoku. And if we go back to the price analysis, that's exactly what happened for Bitcoin and the Dixie. And by the way, if you want to join the community, it's absolutely for free. I'll put a link as a card at the top right-hand section and in the description down below. I'm building something pretty sick. It's going to be a huge research community. So many perks, so many cool stuff. So stay tuned. It's something that you do not want to miss on. I can promise you this. So Dixie found very good support at the lower bound of the Komu cloud. And let's see if we can reverse back up. If we do, Bitcoin will likely crash a bit more. But in the macro, I'm super bullish. We have so much bullish news to cover today regarding the ETF specifically. And tomorrow I have James Safart on the channel. We have so many questions to ask James, but I want to focus on Ethereum particularly. If you have any questions on your mind, leave a comment down below and I'll choose let's say two questions, which I will ask to James tomorrow. But going back here, I think Bitcoin, like I mentioned on the community, we can probably find some support at 64.5K. If if we can even go a little bit higher and say like $65,000, that could be a good support level for Bitcoin. If the stochastic goes below this upper bound at 80, then it gives us a higher chance of a potential correction. On the daily time frame, I mentioned that Bitcoin likes to give retests on falling wedges, especially on higher time frames. That would be incredible, and then we continue pushing towards the upside. In terms of a position, should I wait for a retest? Should I go into a long position now? All I can tell you is what I'm doing, and I'm personally in a long, and I'm waiting for the 3-day, or actually the 4-day candle to close in 3 days and 7 hours. Because if we do get a bullish crossover between the 3 and 10 SMAs, that will be fantastic. That is when I'm going all in onto Bitcoin. It would be incredible if Bitcoin can go above this parabolic SAR resistance too. If we get a confirmation of a bullish crossover between the 3 and 10 moving averages, I think the same thing that took place after the ETF approvals could happen and Bitcoin can run even more. So that is what I'm expecting for Bitcoin. I'm still expecting another parabolic move upwards in our current parabola, and that would be between the $90,000 to $95,000 level, especially if the stock market continues to perform well. And in the Elliott wave structure it's in, I think that will be a no-brainer. We had the first wave, corrective wave. The third wave was the largest one. We had another correction wave, and I think the final wave, wave number 5, it will give us another push towards the upside, and that should, given the Bitcoin correlation with the stock market, help Bitcoin reach the 90K territory. And the Dow Jones Index hit 40,000 points for the first time. Congrats if you hold stocks. This is pretty massive. Like, it's never ever happened before. And people in Wall Street are going absolutely crazy. But speaking about Wall Street, let's get into the actual ETF news, because the entirety of Wall Street is buying them up. In fact, according to the 13F filing reports, 937 professional firms were invested in US spot ETFs. If you remember, Eric and James were predicting like, In terms of advisors, like 7 or 8, it was in the double digits. Now, IBIT alone ended up with 414 reported holders in the first quarter of the 13F season, which is mind-boggling because even having 20 holders for a newborn ETF is highly rare. So 20 is rare, but we're dealing with 414 just for BlackRock's IBIT alone, and that's just going to grow exponentially. I'm not going to put all the firms that have bought Bitcoin ETFs on this video because it would just take up so much space on my tabs above, but we have some of the biggest pension funds. We have JP Morgan, some of the biggest banks in the world, revealing that they do in fact hold Bitcoin ETFs. And these guys are not here to just, when Bitcoin goes up, we're going to sell. No, they are not paper hands. They will hold and hold for a long amount of time. And for the growth and maturity of Bitcoin, that will be so special. So it's incredibly bullish. And guess what? The SEC commissioner mentioned that when she was asked about the Bitcoin spot ETF, she said the takeaway is do not wait 10 years. Ha ha ha. It's funny because look, IBIT has been, all the Bitcoin ETFs have been some of the most best performing ETFs in the world history, period. Period. If we look at gold, the gold ETFs had in their first quarter, I think it was something like 20 or 30 institutions that accumulated them. It's nothing compared to gold. And of course, it's just a massive win for Wall Street. It's remarkable. I'm super bullish for the long term. I think Bitcoin does have a very bright future. But what doesn't have a very bright future, ladies and gentlemen, is, I think, the overall economy. So let's do a little bit of a story session. Back in the 3rd century in Rome, in the Roman Empire, there was incredible amounts of inflation, right? So the denarius was the currency that they used, and it was down 60% of silver purity. They used to have silver coins, and basically what happened was the emperors used to clip the coins to have less silver in the coins itself, and that led to goods and services increasing in price relatively to the denarius. And of course, prices inflated with it. Still, the state kept spending to maintain the illusion of prosperity until things got really bad. Now, the question is here, okay, the stock market is performing incredibly well, but is it just an illusion? Is it just spending that's fueling a boom in the economy? And I think yes. I really do think yes, because here we can see that 80% of all dollars in circulation, let me repeat that, 80% of all dollars in circulation have been printed in the past 3 years or 4 years. Can you believe that? 80% of all dollars in circulation have been printed in the last 3 to 4 years. Of course, if you're printing that much money, you're boosting economic stimuli. You are causing different firms to pump money into the stock market. Of course, that is going to happen if you have that much money in circulation. Now, we had the CPI data yesterday or the day before, and it was saying that, okay, it's at 3.4%, but that's wrong. According to Zero Hedge, which is one of the most realist data analysts and news analysts in the world, he's saying that ever since January of 2021, inflation has not gone down even 0.1%. It's been going up exponentially. Of course, if we just, look at from January 2021 onwards, inflation is not dropping down. It's up almost 20%, and that is wiping out 1/5 of the US dollar's purchasing power. When you put it in that way, things are scary. Things are really scary. And this is a magazine from 28 years ago. And it says here, they say in 30 years, a burger and fries would cost $16. A vacation would cost $12,500. And a basic car, $65K. Well, there you go. It's happened 28 years later. It's pretty much spot on. Whoever predicted this, we kind of need to probably follow their financial advice. Not financial advice. But to kind of end this video off, we have a couple of breaking news. Of course, everybody was so bullish that somebody so bullish for Bitcoin in BlackRock, who kind of led the entire process of the IBIT spot ETF approval, was transferred to Vanguard as CEO. But apparently, unfortunately, Vanguard will still refuse to use the Bitcoin spot ETFs and give them to their own clients. That is their loss. It is okay. We do not need Vanguard, but just to kind of point that out. And finally, the only data set in terms of on-chain data that I'll get into today is that the Bitcoin miner revenue continues to recover or will recover hopefully 2 to 5 months after the halving. So, pretty soon, in just a couple of months, miner revenue should be going up. Of course, now that the halving has happened, so many miners across the world are not profitable anymore. Only sovereign funds or only miners in the Middle East that have slightly cheaper energy prices, they're kind of running down or still running profitably. And all the other miners across the world, they kind of have to liquidate their Bitcoin to just get out and move on because it's simply not profitable for them anymore. And after we have a balance in supply and demand, which should be taking place in the upcoming 2 to 3 months, I think the price of Bitcoin, along with the miners, should continue going towards the upside, and happy days. We all live happily ever after. That's kind of what we're wishing for in the next few months here. But guys and girls, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much. Again, smash up the like button if you did enjoy it, then click these 2 videos if you want to see more of Crypto Kid. But guys and girls, take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you all very shortly. Bye-bye.